Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call to order the meeting of the Paxton Select Board. Today is Monday, March 10th, 2025. It is now 7:03 p.m. by my computer, 7:06 by the wall clock. And first on the agenda, I do have some executive sessions that were scheduled for this evening. Unfortunately, Kirk is unable to be with us tonight because he is ill. So we are going to forego those executive sessions and they will be rescheduled to a later date. So we have 3 consent items. I'm going to read them off as per usual. Number 1 is to approve the meeting minutes from the regular meeting held on February 24th, 2025. Number 2 is to approve the meeting minutes from the regular meeting held on February 26th, 2025. And number 3 is to appoint Patricia Fordy Dawson to the Board of Registrars effective April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2028. Are there any objections to any of the consent items?
No objections.
Hearing none, I declare that they are all approved. All right, under new business, we have a weights and measure contract with Mass DOT and fee schedule, and this is related to our most recent population census, which is now over 5,000. Go ahead, Heather.
Yes. Thank you. So we were contacted by the state's Department of Standards a number of months ago. I imagine they look every 10 years or so forth at what the census is, and we were one of the communities that did not have to currently comply. Now that we have a population, as Julia stated, that exceeds 5,000, we are now required to have a person who does our weights and measures for us. We can hire an individual person, or we can contract with the state under the Massachusetts general laws. Most towns generally go through, or many small towns go through the state just because it's really hard to find someone. Plus, you end up spending a lot more money that way. Especially when you have a small town, you only have a couple businesses that are impacted. So this all falls under Chapter 98, Section 35A. To fulfill these obligations in order to have someone sealing of weighting and measuring devices. We have 3 businesses that are impacted. Two have one scale each between 1 and 100 pounds, and one has 4 scales. They charge per scale that they have to measure. And the annual cost is not substantial, but it is something that we would have to have a fee schedule in place to charge them for. After the select board this evening, if you vote to approve the contract and the fee schedule, we'll be notifying the individual businesses to let them know that this is going into place, along with, just the detailed information that we have for this evening. I'm just pulling my specifics up because I don't have it in front of me. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so the annual cost is less than $350. Let's see, where did I have the breakdown? Did I send a memo with that?
Yeah, you said it was something like $55.
Oh, excellent. I can't find the memo in my my packet
Suggested
online.
charging them to $55. Got quite a few pages to go through, but
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's something we can always look at in the future if we ever want to modify those numbers, but, it's already a new cost to businesses that they're not planning on, and something we've never done before. Other towns have much more extensive weights and measures breakdown, but I believe they have a lot more items that actually are subject to it. I had looked at, for instance, Rutland's, they have a whole page of a different fee schedule, but again, they have multiple aspects to it that we don't have.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Heather?
I'm sure it's here somewhere, but when does this go into effect?
It already went into effect for us for this fiscal year, so we're behind in the compliance. That's why the fee schedule I'm looking to put into play will be for FY25. And then when we go to look at FY26 fee schedule for all of the things Select Board does, we should incorporate it on that and then evaluate if that number should stay the same.
Yeah, it was $55 that you mentioned.
You found it, okay.
Yeah.
So with that, I will accept a motion to approve or disapprove a contract with Mass DOT and the fee schedule as Heather has recommended.
I make a motion to accept the proposal for a fee schedule of $55 per device and sign the contract with Mass DOT.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? Heather, anything further that you need from us besides that?
No, I think, I don't know what the letters were, but it should be DOS, right, Department of Standards?
That makes more sense.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, we could do it with DOT, but,
I was wondering how DOT got
I know,
involved.
where did we see that?
I was thinking like something to do with scales. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So DOS makes much more sense.
Sorry,
that's good.
change that to DOS.
All right, so with that, all in favor, Carol?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. We don't have Kirk on, so I don't have to really do a roll call. All right, moving on. Discuss the use of clickers for town meeting. Where are we at with that right now?
So right now, we're at the point of looking to borrow for this town meeting, and Lori is looking into potential prices from a couple different vendors, as well as what their units would look like if we wanted to do it moving forward. So we did check in with the town administrator over in Rutland, and Lori also checked in with the town clerk over there to see about borrowing their clickers again for our town meeting for May 5th, as well as the assistant town clerk to run that software. We might incur a nominal fee to cover the cost of the assistant town clerk's hours to help us out for that, but we should be able to cover it within the election budget itself. Moving forward, we're looking at some different quotes. Right now, we only have a quote from one company. When I was at the Mass Municipal Association, I actually spoke to a couple colleagues, and some of them actually just rent out every single time. There's a benefit to it, right? The benefit is the company shows up with them, they bring the person to run them, everything always has batteries in it, right? They operate all the pieces, and it's the highest chance of success you're gonna have that everything operates perfectly. The downside is the amount of the cost,
Yeah.
right? So it was very, very costly from the first company that we got a quote from to do it as a rental. We'll see what the other companies come out to, either the full cost of the renting of it. If you're renting, you're only doing 2 town meetings a year. It could pan out over time. You know, the benefit of owning them is that you own them. But with anything and any technology, technology only lasts so long before you're looking to update it or replace it. That being said, the current quote that we have for 500 clickers, now mind you, the highest we've had so far is 310 people, but clickers being a certain technology, unless you have the same ones from the same company and the same version, I don't know if they're compatible if you borrow someone else's. So I don't know if you can always add if you expect a higher number. So we have a quote right now for 500 clickers, right? That should be enough for a very large sized town meeting. It also should be enough if, you know, for some reason some of them don't work and we just move on to the next ones. So that quote's around $20,000. So we do have some funds that we would look to appropriate towards that purpose. If folks remember last year, we had a special town meeting article that we had reappropriated for the second time. First, we appropriated for the VoIP phone system. We had a balance of it. We were putting it towards the networking upgrade. Then we received the earmark from the state for $50,000, so we didn't need the $10,000 for the network upgrade. So we'd be able to reappropriate that $10,000 towards the clickers. So that's still 10 shy. There's a couple thousand that we should finish this year with the elections on. We had extra money in that. We were able to pick up an extra poll pad that Lori needed. But aside from that, you know, there should be some additional money at the end of the year there. So that gets us a portion of the way to that 20,000. How close, I don't know, but something we'll need to revisit a little bit later once we get some of the quotes. The question for this evening is really just making sure that the select board wants us to pursue using them for an annual town meeting. When we had talked to Roger and Lori, everyone seemed to be on board with, you know, it seemed to work well. We definitely have questions. We want to figure some things out. You know, Lori and I talked about testing them out in the office ahead of time to really get a good handle as to what they do and how they perform and make sure everything's working. But aside from that, we think it'd be a great idea to be able to have them again. We just wouldn't have enough funds before May that are ready to go to be able to appropriate them. One of the concerns that some folks had as well when they used them last time is they didn't always know if they worked or not, and they were pushing the button, the display's not very big, so just looking at what products are out there and seeing the comparison point and then bring it back and see if it's something we're interested in. The annual cost for something like that, at least from this first company, because they all come with maintenance costs, right? Annual costs that you have to continue to be able to get everything updated and looked at is about $1,000. So once the upfront cost is taken care of, then you're looking at about $1,000 each year. I don't know how this comps to the other clickers that are out there. Lori's currently doing the research and seeing what options are there.
Okay. So what, for annual town meeting this year, what are we looking at sharing again with Rutland? They're
Yes,
willing
we're
to
looking
bring
at
it?
borrowing Rutland's for May 5th. That's our town meeting. And then theirs is that following Saturday.
Okay. And what is the cost associated for us with borrowing from Rutland?
As far as I know right now, it's just borrowing their assistant town clerk, so for their time. Whether it's straight time or overtime, I don't know how many hours the assistant works. Either way, substantially less than renting.
Certainly. Okay. And do we have an understanding of, what their position would be if we wanted to? Are we able to have a sharing arrangement with them for perpetuity, or?
So I think a lot of the towns who originally said they'd be happy to share the stuff are less happy when the vendor doesn't like them sharing the stuff, right? Because it depletes their profit,
Okay.
right? So if one town was just going to share with everyone, then I can't sell the 351 towns.
Sure.
I can sell to the one, and then they're repurposing.
Okay.
So I think that was the gripe.
So we have two things to consider, really. We, consideration for this town meeting, and then also going forward, what is our thought process? I think there's value in where there's not a big cost associated. There's value in trying them out for this town meeting, assuming that, we can get them, they work, et cetera.
I thought they worked well for the last special town meeting. I'd like to go forward with them. If we're
Yeah.
happy with them. If we're going to purchase them, then it'd have to go through capital.
Right.
So we'd have to bear that in mind. But I do like the idea of renting them, because then you're always going to be keeping up to date on technology. You haven't got to worry about them. Because what's the lifespan of these clickers? Can you remember?
What was the last what?
The lifespan.
The lifespan, yeah.
No.
I mean, theoretically, you don't use them very much.
I know.
They're not going to get used and abused. It's more going to be who's supporting the back end, right? So I don't know enough. I didn't get involved enough when we did them for the special in November to see what they're using. I think it's mostly just almost like going to a website and tuning in and then having everything connect through Wi-Fi. And if that's the case, it all comes down to the back end and how long they support it for. As long as they have the website there and you're able to connect, it could be unlimited, but you don't know.
Okay. I think it will help to inform our decision going forward, how annual town meeting goes. I think it worked great at the special. I hope that it would work great again at the annual, but that's certainly going to play into it. And just want to confirm, Roger has provided his opinion. He is happy to use them at town meeting. It's his meeting, so I don't want to step on his toes in terms of this.
Yeah, I think he definitely found them to be a very good asset when we used them in November. There's always questions about, how do we make sure all of them are working? How do we reduce the battery issues? How do we make sure people understand how to use them? How do we get everyone to participate at least in a initial poll? So one of the things always becomes a question, right? Is the system not working, or are folks not voting?
Right.
And I think there's always a potential for a combination of the two, so that's why we want to try to test them out as much ahead of time as we can.
Yes.
So we have a better feel for how the system works. We're just not comfortable enough with it to understand all those nuances.
Okay. And so you envision at this annual town meeting to do the same thing we did at the special, which is you get your card, but you also get a clicker.
Yes, but then more likely than not, you would just use the clicker.
Yeah.
Unless something changed, or you had 800 people and we only have enough clickers for 5.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I'd like to see how the meeting goes.
I do, yeah. And then make a decision after that.
Exactly, yeah.
So if we want to use them for the future meeting after that, then we'd want to consider appropriating any funds we need at annual town meeting. With that being said, we can always leave it as the very last article at annual town meeting, right? Because if we want to use them for the fall and we have to reappropriate the special town meeting article that's already there to go towards that purpose, we need to do it at a town meeting. And I don't know, Rutland's being very generous, letting us use their clickers for a second time.
Yes.
I don't know if I want to push on that a third time, and rely on them saying yes.
Right. Certainly, we are extremely thankful that Rutland's willing to do this. It certainly helps us to evaluate whether this is a technology we want to take on.
I don't think that's the intent. I think just using them for this town meeting and then make our own decision
Yeah, I
as to
agree.
whether to purchase or to rent.
We've been working without them for years and haven't had a problem per se. I think they do help with efficiency, but I don't know that it's an emergency that we get on it now.
No. Okay.
All right, perfect. So moving right along. Next item is to review surplus disposal requests from the fire department. Let me just get to that. Do you want to come up, Mike? Heather, do you know what page this is?
I'm going to pull it up on the thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. 1 second, it's a long doc.
Got 110.
All right. Should be showing up.
Got it. I've got it. Page 107 if you're looking for it, Carol.
All right. Good evening, Fire Chief Mike Minitori, Paxton Fire Department. Tonight, I present before the board equipment that we either no longer use or is of no use to us any longer. So as everybody here knows, over the last year, two big things have happened. We've condensed 2 trucks into 1. So that left us with a bunch of equipment. And then we also got an AFG grant back in August for replacement of our SCBA, which that takes up most of the request is the SCBA and the parts from 2012. So part of that grant, unfortunately, was not a trade-in. So we're looking to just get this stuff marked out for surplus so we can then put it out to public auction and bid and see where it goes from there.
Okay. So Mike just needs a vote of the select board to allow him to put these items out for bid as surplus equipment.
I make a motion that we put all these items out for a bid, as surplus equipment.
All right, I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, you're all set. Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda is the annual review for the town administrator. We are going to pass over this. Heather and I met today to start going over her review. Unfortunately, we were unable to complete that in the time allotted due to another meeting that was scheduled, so we're going to put that to the next agenda. All right, next up, select board correspondence. I do have a number of correspondence items. Bear with me, I've got one here too. All right. So first, let's see, I'll try and go in order of appearance here. So somebody sent along a message that came through in Facebook Messenger on the town page. And it says, "We deeply appreciate all the DPW does. We know the toll it takes. And thank you for putting out the ice melt at the garage. My husband has been trying to show others to use a small container instead of large buckets. People are filling. Thank you." Certainly a nice benefit that we have. All right, another one. This is also for the DPW. Just wanted to take a moment to thank you and the team for the great work. This is directed at Travis. Thank you and the team for the great work you are doing this winter on snow removal. It has been one of those winters with lots of little storms, which can be almost worse than 1 or 2 blockbuster blizzards. I grew up on Davis Hill Road, and when it was just Mr. Hansen and the four Urbanovich brothers working for the DPW, so I am well aware of the shoestring budget and old equipment you are dealing with. I only speak for myself, but as a member of the Finance Committee, I've been watching the Capital Committee meetings on YouTube. Your overview of the equipment is telling about the need for some help in your area. Thanks again for what you do. 99% of the town appreciates it. All right. And then I have one here that came in for the police department. Dear Chief Savasta, I'm writing to express my sincere appreciation for the outstanding service provided by the Paxton Police Department. Recently, I had the need to call for a welfare check of my residents, and I was truly impressed by the prompt and professional response from Sergeant Thorpe and Detective David Keller. Their dedication, professionalism, and compassion in handling the situation were evident, and I am grateful for their service. The Paxton Police Department continues to exemplify excellence in law enforcement, ensuring the safety and well-being of our community. Your officers work tirelessly, often sacrificing their own time while others are home with family and friends to keep our streets and neighborhoods safe. Their presence and commitment do not go unnoticed, and I take great pride in knowing that we have such a dedicated team serving and protecting us. Please extend my gratitude to Sergeant Thorpe, Detective Keller, and the entire department. Their hard work and dedication make a difference in our community, and I truly appreciate all that they do. Okay. So that is all I have for correspondence tonight. Moving right along, Town Administrator's Report.
Awesome. March 11th, which is tomorrow, the Open Space Recreation Planning Committee are meeting at 5 o'clock at the COA. On March 12th, we have the joint Select Board FinCom in this room for the school budget presentation starting at 7. I think we're starting with Bay Path and then Wachusett. Let's see, on March 13th, we have a Capital Committee meeting here at 7 o'clock. March 17th, there's Charter Review Committee, I believe at 5:45. March 17th, also Planning Board is meeting at 7 o'clock. If you look at my old version of the TA report, I promoted Planning Board to Planning Board Finance Committee. Congratulations. On March 19th, Finance Committee has a 7 o'clock meeting. March 20th, Economic Development Committee will be meeting on Zoom. March 24th, we're back to Select Board. March 26th, FinCom meeting is on the schedule, penciled in. So that is where we are for right now. Opportunities, so currently we still have the principal assessor, a full-time police officer, and a light equipment operator position that have been posted. I'm unsure of the status of the last one as of today. Volunteer, if folks have any interest, please check out the website. There is still that seat for the Charter Review Committee, as well as an open space and recreation planning seat and 2 conservation seats that are still open. Town business, just reminders, town election is on Monday, May 12th. If anyone is interested in running for office and they were not at the caucus or nominated at the caucus, they can still pull nomination papers and return them by March 24th at 5 p.m. Nomination papers must include at least 22 certified signatures from registered voters in town. If you have any questions, please contact Lori Becker, the town clerk. 2 other quick updates. One being the fire department. So we've got a couple questions on this. We had an employee that was provisionally hired back in the fall. He was unable to fulfill his pre-employment requirements, and therefore the position became vacant again. It was posted internally as of today. If there is no internal hires for that position, then the fire chief will post externally after that. So if anyone's heard about it and they're so excited and they've always wanted to work for the fire department, please note that if you're already on call or part-time hire right now, you have an opportunity. And then if we can't fill from one of those listings, we'll be looking externally. So you might have to wait a little bit on that. Police department, we have the retirement of Sergeant James Dugan. With that, we congratulate him on his retirement. We thank him for all of his service to the town. We also have 2 temporary appointments. One is Jason Silvestri to the position of acting sergeant, and the second is Jacob Mosio as acting detective. Both are effective immediately. Current project updates. The FY26 budget's underway. Materials continue to be added to the town's website. So if folks have not been on since Friday, we've been adding quite a few items to the FY26 budget tab. If you see anything there you have questions about or anything that you'd like to see as a resident or just someone who's really interested in town government, please let us know and we'll happily see what we can do to add that piece up there. The IT grant, King Information Systems, has been on site for a couple weeks now and working through the organization compilation of the street files, which are going to be housed over in the permitting office. It's actually really exciting to see the files come together and the fact that Brooke can now turn to one address and see all of the different materials for it that are relatively current. And also, I think it'll make it a lot easier in finding the septic plans. So that'll be very exciting. Zoning bylaws, so the zoning bylaw pieces are still coming together. We're still updating to make sure that the red book, the red line version's all together. It should hit the library, town hall, COA, and Brooks' office in hard copy format to have 3 sets as discussed previously by the end of the week. We had a couple questions. Some folks were out of town. We just want to make sure everyone's on the same page. And we're also waiting for the Attorney General's decision on the ADU, which we expect back tomorrow. Once we get that, Lori will post that out for everyone to see. The next planning board meeting, which zoning bylaws will be on, is on March 17th. So if you're enjoying St. Patty's Day and you really wish you can meet planning board, but you can't, you can tune in. You can always zoom in. That could make it more exciting. And the expected public hearing is currently scheduled for April 7th. Please note, as of right now, we do not currently, or as of right now, I don't currently have an update on whether or not the state has moved forward with extending the remote meeting option. If we don't have an update by next week, we're going to have to post the April 7th meeting, and it would be in person only. We'd still record it, still put it on Zoom. We'd love to have it in both
Not
in
on
person.
Zoom though, right?
Huh?
You said we would still put it on Zoom, but we're not going to put it on Zoom?
We can still put it on YouTube.
YouTube.
Like, we'd still broadcast it, but we probably wouldn't do a Zoom component because there would be, unless we know if there's going to be a remote option, I don't think we want to mess with the posting requirements because they get a little picky.
Yeah.
We want to make sure we're in compliance. TA FY25 goals, always updated on the website. If there's anything, there's nothing really new there. Other things, procurement, we did hear back on the Klingler building renovation project we had put out last week. We had held a mandatory bid conference the week before, and we only had 1 bidder in attendance. They did bid. The amount came in to $168,000, which is substantially higher than what we were expecting. So we're getting all the minds together, hopefully this week, to revisit the site and have further discussion, see if we can come up with some revisions and what everyone thinks, especially folks who work in the field. They're going to know a lot more than where I sit at my seat. State grants, state earmark contracts for the networking equipment and tablets for permitting have been signed off of, at least in the email sense, that we can get things started. So we're hoping by the end of April to have those pieces up and running. The grant tracker is attached, I believe, as well. I don't have any further updates on that piece, but hopefully we'll keep updating it as we go, and it'll be a great working document.
Very good.
Any questions?
Any questions for Heather? Hearing none? Okay.
No.
All right, next up, we have a public comment session. Is there anybody for public comment?
Six.
6, okay. Well,
Starts it off.
yep. Who's it?
Mr. Bogren?
Mr. Bogren?
Fine, so you guys were talking about the clickers?
Can we get him a mic?
Yeah, can
You can have all of mine.
I just need one. No, you guys were talking about the clickers, and I just wanted to make a suggestion, if it was possible to have the results be able to be projected up on the screen rather than just held on one computer for 2 people to see. We got 2 months before, 2 months go by awful quick, so it might seem like a long ways away, but it might be something that we could start working on now. And that was it, simple enough.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Pete. All right, who's up? All right, Mr. Ford.
I made my comments last week. I'm willing to reserve mine till the end.
Okay. All right, who's up? All right, Mark.
Well, actually, I had had several, but I understand I'm limited to one. So the one I'll pick is 10 West Market. Has been on the Select Board agenda a number of times, always under executive session, which would mean that the Select Board knows more than I do as I'm addressing it right now, but I'm just cautioning the Select Board that I had mentioned it a month or so ago. The rumor mill is still active. I don't want to add to that, but I think it's going to be harmful if later on the reality of what plays out is actually tied into what the rumors are that are circulating right now. So I would just encourage the Select Board to get to a point where they can share at least something with the public before the rumor mill goes even further down the road that it's going right now. So,
Julie, do you want to
a
comment?
lot of us are hearing a lot of information. What we're hearing doesn't play well, and I would hope that the Select Board could address it and kind of walk that back. So just a word of recommendation or suggestion.
I appreciate that, Mark. I don't know what the rumors are.
I don't.
So I don't think that I can address it in any way without knowing what the rumors are. But I can tell you it is, it is a matter, as you commented already, that it's an executive session, and so we're not really at liberty to discuss it at this point. I'm hopeful at some point in the future we'll be able to at least, find some resolution to it. All right. Donna, who do we have next? Sorry.
Mr. Banks?
I also will defer at this point, just to come back. I don't want to take interest away from other things that may come up. So at this point, if I may.
Okay. What else have we got?
Will be Dominic?
Tony?
I just put yes in case I wanted to say something, but now that Mark went to the 10 West route, though, I would just add on to that. If you're not in, I know you don't want to give a lot of, perception's reality, right? So if you're not in touch with the rumor, I don't even like using the word rumors, but there's information out there. It probably is good to address that. I know Heather and I have talked about this, just in passing, it probably is a good idea to get information out about I know there's things you absolutely can't talk about.
Right.
But for the ones, the information that's out there, it's probably good to address that. If you guys aren't in touch with that, one of us could probably send you an email to people who,
That might be helpful.
yeah, I think it's a good idea to put something out there with what we can address at this point in time.
Yep.
Just so it's clear where we are,
Yeah, because if there are anything that we can address, I'd like to do that. But
Yeah.
without knowing what the rumors are that are circulating, I don't know that we can.
Okay, no, I think that's fair.
All right.
Thank you.
Roberta?
So I know I don't know the rules for public comment because I have a question, 2 questions and a comment. But I don't know if I can scattershot that or if I'm limited to 3 minutes or 1 topic, so I could use some advice.
So I don't believe we ever said it was limited to 1 topic. Did anybody correct me on that? It was limited to 3 minutes.
Unfortunately, I believe it is 3 minutes, 1 topic per evening. But the chair has the discretion to waive that.
Just looking at the policy. Try and get you an answer, Roberta.
I only saw the 3 minutes part. I don't see the single topic, but it's very possible it's in here.
I'll see if I can get some more information here. Roberta, I don't want to hold you up. Why don't you?
Well, I guess I can make a statement, which is, in light of the review being postponed with Heather, I'm just going to forward my comments, I guess, formally to the Select Board, whether or not they'll reach the board in time. If, once you finish the review, it would just make me feel better to do that. I'll also continue to work through Donna on what I think is an important issue to discuss, MBTA communities, and having the Select Board take up my question and concern at a meeting in the near future. And then my third comment I'll make, since Mr. Ford is here, which is I think there was a huge disservice done at the last public meeting, because my comments and intentions about the charter change was completely misconstrued, as was my conversation, which was a citizens' conversation with Heather. So I'm here if anyone wants to ask what actually happened and what my intention was. And I would even say I would be willing to talk about the discussion, though I don't feel as though that's required to be disclosed by Heather or myself. And that's my comment.
Okay, thank you. All right. Neil or Joe, does anybody have anything further? Hearing nothing.
Well, I'm kind of interested if there's a rebuttal to comments that were made.
It doesn't sound like there is.
All right. So, if I speak, am I going to get a chance to answer any questions that may come up?
I don't think that's what, this isn't intended to be a dialogue among members of the public that are sitting here.
Okay.
If there are things that you want to talk to other members of the public about, you can talk to other members of the public outside of a select board
Okay.
meeting.
I guess then I would follow up with a comment. I, again, was not here 2 weeks ago at the meeting. I have since watched it. And I did have a comment, or I'll say it as a comment. If we're limited to 3 minutes in watching or rewatching the rebroadcast of the meeting, there was basically 2 people here for public speak, comment, whatever, and it tended to go on for about 13 or 14 minutes. Several issues were addressed, which if we can do that, that's fine. I have no problems with that. But I was more concerned that the board, sitting here, allowed comments to go on about the citizens petition and why and how things happen. I mean, that's like in the rearview mirror. It was done. The petition was filed with the town clerk. There was a warrant article presented at a special town meeting. It was voted on and passed. Subsequent to that, it was then sent to the state legislature, where it also was voted on and approved. And to watch the board members nodding in agreement that things weren't handled in a correct fashion or a proper fashion, I found that a little disheartening. I just said, it's in the rearview mirror. It's done. We're moving forward. And I'm hoping that as we continue to move forward, we don't have to rehash whys and hows and whatever happened. So, first comment. So if you have something you'd like to respond to, I mean, that's fine. If you just want to take it under advisement, that's fine too.
So I'm going to respond in 2 ways to
Okay.
you, Neil. Any nodding that was happening, if you're saying that it's nodding in agreement, that's your interpretation of it. I just want to make sure that that's clear. The other thing is that public comment, the things that are said during public comment by a citizen who comes into this room are protected by First Amendment rights, and so I
Absolutely.
am not able to cut somebody off by virtue of the content of what they're saying.
Okay. Thank you. Can I go point 2?
Yes.
Okay. The zoning bylaw review group it's important right now that we get support from the Select Board as we're moving forward, because the annual town meeting is coming up. And the biggest item of contention, which will not be addressed in May, but will be put off probably till the fall, is the MBTA communities requirements. So we want to make sure, as a group, that the Select Board is on board with the way we're moving forward. So as I said, I'm asking, I'm on the board. It does fall under the purview as we move forward through the planning board and process for hearings and any type of comments prior to its, excuse me, its presentation at a special town meeting subsequent to the annual town meeting. We haven't determined a date, but we need to make sure that everybody's on board and we're understanding where we're going. I want to avoid a situation that we had before about the citizens petition and the 5-member select board, where you folks, as the board of 3 members, took a vote to approve that article, and then as we went through the meeting process, you had comments that were made about, you were kind of reflecting back as to maybe I didn't agree with this that way. So it's very important moving forward now that the MBTA Communities Act be 100% supported by everybody involved, starting with the select board, then following to zoning and planning, and the likes of that. So that's kind of what I'm asking for at this point. Okay? Any comment? I mean, I'm hoping you're in agreement.
Absolutely.
I have
Yeah.
no specific comment. I do think it's best for all involved, for everybody to be on the same page.
Okay, all right. And then what are we doing about warrant articles time frame? When does the warrant open? Because we have to have a hearing to make sure we have the
Yep.
warrant article for the changes to the current zoning bylaws. Nothing will be, I can say this again, I've said it at the planning board and I said it last time, nothing is going to change in terms of the business districting. That was the item that had a lot of discussion points and people were upset, and rightly so. I understand that. But there is nothing going to be changed under what we're proposing now at the annual town meeting for changes to the business district. So as it is now is where it's going to stay. And if we have pre-existing non-conforming uses, they will stay in place. We're not trying to change anything along that line. The biggest change is if people do review the red line issues, copies that Heather is putting out at the library, town hall, and here, is they're basically clerical things, getting definitions in one spot, cleaning up a grammar, commas, punctuation, things like that. It's just to bring it up to speed or up to the 2025 codes is what we need. And I'm hoping as we get to that point that this time it will sail through. We won't have to have a lot of discussion. So, but that's where we are at this point. And again, the next meeting is next Monday on the planning board, and then subsequent to that, it is on April 7th. There will be a hearing that anybody can come and make comments so that we can try to iron out the issues that may be present.
Yeah.
Okay?
And you asked about timeline for the warrant articles.
Yes.
I believe April 4th
Third.
is 3rd. April 3rd is when they're due to the town administrator.
Do.
So what we'll do, Neil, for the planning board one, so I'll work with legal to write up the planning board articles before that date, and then you guys have the public hearing on the 7th. So after the 7th, if we make any modification, that's fine, we can adjust them, and then the select board will vote on them at the next meeting, the
So
following.
just so it opens on the 3rd and
It's
closes?
already open.
It's,
Yeah.
all right, it's open now.
Yeah.
And are we trying to do one article? We've had discussion, so are you still leaning toward one article?
I think one article, we'll talk to Brian, our legal counsel, and kind of get his feedback on the piece. Remember before, last year when we did the stuff in November, he had kind of advised, do you really want to do one article? Because if something doesn't pass, then, it
Correct.
holds the whole piece up. That being said, where we currently have the definitions all collectively put into section 1, it becomes more problematic because if you don't approve the whole thing, then you have things out of balance.
Correct.
Definitions without homes with old definitions, and
Correct. So anyway, that's kind of where we're leaning here, and as again, I hope when we get it to that point that we, again, have the support of Select, and then again, for the warrant, it would be Finance, and it would be whoever else is going to, Planning Board, I guess, would vote and say, yes, we're in favor of.
For sure, yeah.
But we just want to make sure that everybody is in agreement where we're going with this stuff. So, okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything further? Go ahead, Joe.
Are there still employees who are laid off, positions been cut in town?
There are.
Okay. I was a customer of Darlene's when she was in, I'm not aware of what the rumors they're being referred to here. I was a customer of Darlene's when she was in Tatnick Square. It's unfortunate she's not here, but I think there's been more of an interest to find out what happened with 10 West than to figuring out how to bring back the employees that have been laid off in town. To me, that's a distraction. 10 West, to me, in my opinion, is in the rearview mirror. I think there's more important things that should be discussed here going forward at this time.
Thank you, Joe. All right. Okay.
Can I add one more thing? I think with 10 West, though, I think the discussion for me for 10 West is about, not about the business, but about the building. You know, I think that's a discussion we still have to have. When we talk about the rumors, I think that's what we're talking about, is there's a lot of discussion about what's going to be done with the building. And without, without saying things that, I mean, the things that you're not able to talk about, I know there's legal matters, like, that information's out there, people kind of know it, so, I know you can't officially say it, so just, yeah, I don't think anybody's trying to revisit, well, at least I'm not trying to revisit. For me, it's more from an economic development committee point. I've had people approach me about wanting to buy the building, things like that, so, I know there's options on the table. I think it's, and as far as the kind of, you know, I hate to, again, I don't like using the word rumors, because they're not really rumors, they're things that have been talked about, right? There's been talk about using it for the DPW, for the water department. I've heard all these different things, so that doesn't need to be addressed tonight, but we can, I'd say anybody who's heard those things and maybe get an email to you guys, and I think we should get something official out there. And, yeah, so that was all I was talking about with that.
Again, I'm not aware of what the rumors were or are, and that's fine. I'm not talking about tonight. I mean, since the failed overrides until tonight, there has been several times that I've been here where people have wanted to put that on the agenda to talk about it, why she ended up leaving Paxton. And to me, that's a distraction. There's more important things that we need to be discussed right now than for that. That's my point.
Thank you.
Julie, can I respond to that? I think it's important to note that there has been a lot of effort toward restoring positions, not the least of which was the special town meeting that we had, which provided a number of things in the way of stabilization, ambulance receipts fund. A lot of things were not to the level that any of us wanted, but a lot of things were restored at that time. Secondly, if you watched the last Finance Committee meeting that we just had, there was all manner of effort to restore firefighter positions, new police positions. So I think to suggest that we're not looking to that is inaccurate, quite frankly, and not fair, particularly when the Finance Committee is just now beginning their work in earnest. Secondly, the 10 West thing is a bigger issue than one particular business. This plays into the whole economic development program that we're trying to embark, where a very favorable, popular entity has left, and we're now about facing the worst, lowest new growth number that I think the town has had in the last 15 years. Small matter, but a loss of meals tax as well. All of those revenue items add to the plate of the Finance Committee to be able to restore those particular positions. So I think the comment that we're not interested in and we're not focusing on that is inaccurate and inappropriate, and I don't accept it.
All right. Okay. I believe we are done with public comment. It is now 7:56. And At this point, we are not going to be entering into executive session, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned.